To understand these 6 points, we must first talk about energy, not the energy that powers a car or lights a light bulb, but psychic energy. For Jung, this energy, which he called libido, a term much broader than Freud's purely sexual connotation, is the life force of our soul. It is the river that flows within us, nourishing our thoughts, emotions, dreams, and desires. In some people, this river flows outward, into the world, in a burst of socialization and action. In others, it flows inward, into the rich and complex landscapes of the inner world. No stream is better than the other. They are simply different. And the 6 desire points are, in fact, 6 great dams or springs of this energy in the male psyche, places where his life force gathers, often in secret. Touching these points is learning the rhythm of your inner river. The first point, and perhaps the most misunderstood, is its sacred silence. How many times have you seen a man withdraw into himself and interpreted it as anger, disinterest, or rejection? Society teaches us that connection is made of words, of constant exchanges. But for many souls, especially those with a more introverted inclination, silence is not a void. It's a space for recharging. In Jungian psychology, psychic energy is not infinite. For the extrovert, it is gained in the external world, in interaction. For the introvert, it is recovered in solitude, in inner immersion. The external world, with its demands and stimuli, drains this energy. His silence, therefore, is not a closed door to you. It is the door he needs to open to himself, to be able to process the world and feel whole again. Kissing this point means understanding that his silence isn't about you. It's about him. It's giving him the gift of space without punishment. It's sitting beside him in comfortable silence, communicating with your presence that you don't fear his inner world, that you respect it. When you do this, you cease to be another demand from the outside world and become a sanctuary, a safe place where he can let his guard down and recharge. This understanding creates a bond of trust so deep that words become secondary. He won't be able to get you out of his head because you were the only person who understood that his soul sometimes needs stillness to flourish. The second point of desire is the most delicate. It is your hidden wound. Every man carries a wound, a deep insecurity, a past failure that haunts him, a feeling of not being good enough that was planted in childhood. Society, from an early age, teaches men to hide this pain. Be strong. Men don't cry. Don't show weakness. This wound, then, is relegated to darkness. Jung would call this a part of the Kau shadow, the aspects of ourselves that we repress and hide, for fear that if they were seen, we wouldn't be loved. Most of a man's energy is spent keeping this vulnerable part well guarded, protected under layers of strength, success, or sarcasm. Kissing. This wound isn't about trying to heal it. You're not his therapist, and the wound is part of his individuation journey, not yours. The kiss here is an act of non-judgmental acknowledgement. It's about creating a safe space where, perhaps for the first time, he feels he can show a crack in his armor without it being exploited or dismissed. It's about listening to the story behind arrogance or excessive shyness and understanding that there's pain there. It's about saying, with your actions and your empathy, I see this part of you, this part you think is ugly or weak, and I won't run away. I'll stay. This act of radical acceptance is transformative. He won't be attracted to you because you fixed him, but because in your presence, he can begin to feel whole. And this feeling of being accepted in one's entirety is the deepest longing of the human soul. The third point of desire is the energy that moves you into the world. It's your search for meaning. Think about it. How often is a man's passion for his work, a personal project, or a cause seen as a threat to the relationship? It's common to hear complaints that he's only thinking about work, or that he's distant because he's immersed in his own goals. We see his mission as a rival for your attention. But from a Jungian perspective, this quest is one of the most vital expressions of your soul. It's your journey of individuation unfolding in real time. Jung taught that each of us has an innate drive to become the most complete and authentic self possible. For a man, this journey often manifests itself through work, creation, and a mission. It's not just about earning money or status. It's about grappling with the world to find your place in it, to make a mark, to feel that your life has purpose. It's your way of organizing the chaos of the world into something meaningful. Kissing this point is a radical shift in perspective. It's stopping seeing his mission as your competitor and starting to see it as a sacred extension of who he is. The kiss, here, is your genuine curiosity. It's asking about the challenges he faced that day, not with pressure, but with interest. It's celebrating a small victory in his project as if it were your own. It's understanding that when he's focused and distant, he's not abandoning you. He's fighting in an arena that is vital to his identity. When you become an ally in his quest, rather than another obstacle, something profound happens. You become intertwined with his life's purpose. He won't be able to get you out of his head because you're not someone waiting for him at the end of the journey. You're the person who gave him water and held his hand during the most important battle of his life. You become synonymous with strength and inspiration. And this brings us to the fourth point, which lives at the opposite polarity of the serious search for meaning. It's your forgotten boy. Inside every serious, responsible adult man, there's a boy. A boy who might love video games, who collects something others find silly, who has a loud laugh or a childish sense of humor. Society, once again, pressures men to bury this boy. He's seen as immature, irresponsible. Grow up, the world says. And so he learns to show this side only in very safe spaces, or more often than not, to show it to anyone at all. This playful, spontaneous side is repressed, becoming another facet of the shadow. He fears being judged or ridiculed if he lets this boy out to play. Kissing this spot is an act of pure delight. It's not tolerating his childish hobbies. It's being enchanted by them. The kiss is your genuine laughter at the silly joke he made. It's sitting next to him for 10 minutes and asking him to teach you how to play that game, even if you're terrible at it. It's looking at his collection of cars or action figures and saying, "Wow, tell me the story of this one." It's creating a safe playground where he doesn't have to be the provider, the protector, or the adult. He can simply be. He can be both the boy and the man, simultaneously, in your presence. This permission is one of the most powerful forms of freedom anyone can offer another person. He won't be able to get you out of his head because, in a world that demands he wear heavy armor every day, you were the only person who invited him to take it off and simply play. And that feeling of lightness and total acceptance is absolutely unforgettable. The fifth point of desire is perhaps the most secret of all, for it resides in a territory that patriarchal culture has tried to pave over and hide for centuries. It is your sensitive soul. Within every man, no matter how rustic or logical his outward appearance, lies an inner landscape of great sensitivity, intuition, and feeling. Jung called this inner dimension the anima, the archetypal embodiment of the feminine in the male psyche. The anima is not about gender. It is about a quality of being. It is the bridge to the unconscious, the source of creativity, the capacity for deep connection, and the portal to emotional life. Yet, from an early age, boys are taught to distrust and repress this part of themselves. Be a man. Don't be sentimental. Stop dreaming. And so, the anima is wounded and exiled to the shadow. He learns that his sensitivity is a weakness, his intuition is unreliable, and his emotions are a burden. He constructs a persona of rationality and control, but underneath, his soul yearns to be expressed. Kissing, this spot, is an act of profound validation. It's looking at him when he expresses a subtle emotion, an intuition about something, or an appreciation for beauty, a sunset, a song, a gesture, and not just accepting it, but celebrating it. The kiss is saying, "What you felt is real and important. Tell me more." It's asking for his intuitive opinion on a situation and taking it seriously. It's creating a space where he can be vulnerable without feeling less of a man, where his ability to feel is seen not as a flaw but as a gift. When you become a safe guardian for his anima, you connect with the deepest source of his capacity to love and connect. He won't be able to get you out of his head because you didn't just love the warrior he shows the world. You loved the poet, the mystic, and the dreamer he hides within. You gave water to a part of his soul that was dying of thirst. And this brings us to the sixth and final point of desire. This is not an aspect he hides, but one he is still becoming. It is the king he can be. At the heart of every human journey, according to Jung, is the process of individuation, the journey to become a complete, integrated, and authentic individual. It is the process of uniting all parts of oneself, the public persona, the hidden shadow, the sensitive anima, the playful boy, The culmination of this journey is the archetype of the king, the mature, centered man who rules his own inner kingdom with wisdom, strength, and compassion. He is not a tyrant, but a just leader. He is not perfect, but he is whole. This king is his highest potential, the most complete version of himself. Often he himself can only glimpse this potential in fleeting moments. He is haunted by his flaws, his doubts, and the ghosts of his past failures. Kissing. This point is the deepest act of faith you can offer. It's not about flattery or ignoring his flaws. It's about having the vision to see the gold within him, even when all he sees is gravel. The kiss, here, is a mirror. It's reflecting back to him not what he is on his worst day, but the potential you see in him at his best. It's saying, in a moment of doubt, I know this is hard, but I remember how you handled that other situation, with such courage and integrity. That strength is there within you. It's believing in his journey even when the path is uncertain. You're not pushing him or trying to mold him into the man you want him to be. You are, with your quiet, steadfast belief, activating and nurturing the king who already exists within him, waiting to be called. He won't be able to get you out of his head because you've become more than a partner. You've become a witness and a catalyst for his own soul. In your presence, he feels not only loved for who he is, but inspired to become all he can be. And this kind of connection isn't just unforgettable. It's the very fabric of great love and life stories. By touching these 6 points, you become a powerful force in their life, a resonance in their psyche. But here we need to pause. We need to light a candle and look into the darkest corner of the room. Because Carl Jung, more than anyone, taught us an inescapable truth. Where there is light, there is also shadow. And this deep connection, this art of knowing a soul, also has its own. Ignoring this shadow is not only naive, it's dangerous. Dealing with the shadow in this context means not only recognizing his shadow, but also the shadow that can arise in the relationship's own dynamics. Each of these 6 desire points, if not approached with awareness and balance, can become a trap. Consider the hidden wound. It's incredibly powerful to create a safe space for their vulnerability. But the shadow of this is the savior trap. It's when you unconsciously begin to define yourself as the healer. You may feel drawn to their pain because it gives you a sense of purpose, making you feel needed. The relationship then ceases to be a partnership of equals and becomes a dynamic of patient and therapist, of broken and fixer. The kiss of acceptance turns into a caress that keeps them in the victim position, and they may become dependent on your compassion instead of finding the strength to integrate their own wound. The gentle path to addressing the shadow is self-awareness. Ask yourself, am I honoring their pain or feeding off it? Remember, your role is to hold the flashlight so they can see their own path, not walk it for them. Now let's look at the forgotten boy. What a joy it is to create a playground where he can be free. The shadow here is the archetype of the puer aeternus, the eternal boy. This is when the invitation to play becomes a license for perpetual immaturity. If there's no balance, you can unwittingly become the mother who cleans up the boy's mess, who handles all the responsibilities of the adult world while he remains in the playground. He avoids the discomfort of growing up, and you end up carrying the weight of 2 kingdoms. The antidote to this shadow is love with boundaries. It's celebrating the boy but also calling upon the king. It's knowing how to say, with the same tenderness with which you invite him to play, now the kingdom needs you. We need the man. What about your search for meaning? Supporting their mission is one of the greatest gifts you can give. The shadow manifests when your support turns into self-effacement. You may begin to believe their mission is more important than yours, that their dreams deserve more space than yours. You become a secondary figure in their life story, a satellite orbiting the sun, losing its own center of gravity. They, immersed in their journey, may not even realize that their light is overshadowing yours. Dealing with this shadow requires you to remember that you too are a universe. Honoring their quest cannot mean erasing yours. True partnership happens when 2 journeys run side by side, sometimes intersecting, sometimes giving space to each other, but never demanding that either disappear. Acknowledging these shadows doesn't diminish the beauty of the 6 points. On the contrary, it makes the connection real. A relationship based solely on light is a fragile fantasy, ready to shatter at the first sign of difficulty. A relationship that learns to dance with light and shadow, that understands that accepting the wound is not an invitation to victimhood, that celebrating the boy is not an excuse for immaturity, and that supporting the mission is not a contract for self-sacrifice. This is an indestructible connection. It is the true work of the soul, the process of individuation happening not only within the partner, but between the two of you. And this dance continues in the other realms of his psyche. Consider the sacred silence. What a gift it is to give a man the space to recharge. The shadow emerges when the sanctuary becomes a fortress. When silence ceases to be an act of internal processing and becomes a weapon of passive-aggressive distancing, a wall to prevent intimacy, difficult conversations, connection. The relationship begins to starve, not for lack of love, but for lack of communion. The antidote to this shadow is not to kick down the door, demanding that he talk. That will only make him build higher walls. The gentle path is to build bridges. It's to say, I respect your silence, and when you're ready to cross the bridge back to us, I'll be here. It's, crucially, to have a garden so rich and fascinating on your side of the bridge that his solitude doesn't become an abyss of abandonment for you. It's to honor his rhythm, without ever abandoning yours. Then there's the shadow of the sensitive soul. It's beautiful to be the guardian of a man's anima, the safe space where his intuition and feelings can live. The shadow occurs when he projects his anima entirely onto you. He stops doing the work of connecting with his own feelings and instead makes you the sole bearer of emotion, intuition, and relational life for both of you. You become the soul of the relationship, and he becomes a rational spectator, expecting you to interpret the emotional world for him. He may become moody, expecting you to divine the source of his melancholy, or he may abdicate any responsibility for the emotional health of the relationship because that's his domain. Dealing with this shadow is an act of loving mirroring. Instead of absorbing and processing his emotions for him, you reflect them back with a question. That seems very important. What do you think that means? You invite him to be his own interpreter, to develop his own soul language. You celebrate his anima, but you don't carry it on your back. And finally, the shadow of the king he can be. Believing in someone's highest potential is one of the most generous acts of love there is. The shadow is the tyranny of idealization. It's when you fall in love not with the flesh and blood man before you, with his flaws and contradictions, but with the image of the perfect king you projected onto him. His every mistake, every misstep becomes a profound disappointment to you because he's not fulfilling the potential you saw. Your kiss of encouragement turns into a whip of expectations. He, feeling the weight of this impossible ideal, can either rebel against it or feel like a perpetual failure in your presence. The way to deal with this shadow is to anchor your vision in reality. It's loving the man who clumsily washed the dishes today as much as you believe in the wise leader he can become tomorrow. It's understanding that the king's journey is made up of countless small battles, not a single glorious coronation. It's loving the process with all its messiness and not just the end result. Do you see the difference? We've left the seduction manual behind and entered the realm of wisdom. Kissing. These 6 points isn't a technique to trap a man. It's a practice to free two souls, his and yours, because by learning to see and honor his complexity with awareness, you're forced to do the same for yourself. You learn to honor your own silence, to tend to your own wounds, to celebrate your own inner boy or girl, to trust your own sensitive soul, and to believe in the king or queen you can be. Connection becomes a mirror for your own individuation process, and this is where the real magic happens. The goal was never to stay in his head. That was just the invitation, the gateway. The true goal is to build a connection so real, so anchored in the truth of who you both are, with all the light and all the shadow, that it becomes a source of growth for both of you. It's creating a third space, a sacred field between you, where both souls can flourish, both together and separately. So how can we take this profound understanding and transform it into a way of being? How can we embrace this journey of becoming more whole, together? The answer lies in accepting that you are both the artist and the artwork. You are not just applying knowledge, you are becoming that knowledge. Let us recap then the path we've traveled. We began with a promise that sounded like a seduction trick, a quick spell to capture a man's attention. And slowly, we unfolded this superficial map to reveal the three-dimensional and sacred landscape of the psyche. The 6 points of desire were never about the skin. They were always about the soul. They are an invitation to abandon the language of conquest and embrace the language of witness. It's the difference between wanting to possess a forest and learning to walk through it with reverence, noticing the light filtering through the leaves, the sound of branches underfoot, and the smell of damp earth after the rain. What we discovered is that the deepest human desire is not to be conquered, but to be known. And the most lasting attraction is not born of perfection, but of allowing oneself to be imperfect. You don't become unforgettable because you successfully applied 6 techniques. You become unforgettable because your presence became a mirror in which he could, perhaps for the first time, see himself in his entirety. The silence, the wound, the mission, the boy, the sensitive soul, and the potential king. You didn't offer him a distraction from the world, you offered him a sanctuary where he could find himself. And herein lies the most empowering truth of all. You can only offer him what you're already cultivating within yourself. This journey of knowing his soul is, inseparably, a journey of knowing yours. To honor his sacred silence without feeling abandoned, you must first learn to comfortably inhabit your own silence, to find richness in your own inner world, to create a safe space for his hidden wound. Without falling into the savior trap, you must first look at your own wounds with compassion, understanding that healing is a journey of personal sovereignty. To celebrate his search for meaning without negating yourself, you need to be deeply connected to your own mission, your own purpose, even if it seems different. To be enchanted by his forgotten boy, you need to give your inner girl permission to come out and play, to be silly, to laugh for no reason. To be the guardian of his sensitive soul, you need to honor your own intuition, your own emotional depth, your anima or animus, and most importantly, to see and believe in the king he can be. You need to be in touch with the queen you can be. The queen who rules her own inner kingdom with wisdom, who knows her own worth regardless of external validation, and who offers her belief not as an expectation, but as a gift of her own abundance. See, true alchemy happens here. It's not about molding yourself to fit into his world. It's about becoming so fully yourself that your authenticity becomes an invitation to his. The most magnetic force in the universe isn't beauty, intelligence, or success in the world's terms. It's integrity. It's a person living in alignment with their own soul. When you show up this way, you don't need to play games. Your presence becomes the message itself, embracing your unique way of being, with your own needs for silence, your own wounds, your own passions, your own playfulness, and your own depth, is the most generous act you can do for yourself and for any relationship. You stop looking for someone to complete you and start looking for someone with whom to share your wholeness. And this is a foundation for love that can weather any storm. Therefore, the final message is not a set of instructions, but a whisper of permission. Allow yourself to be complex. Allow yourself to honor your own rhythms. Understand that your journey of individuation is the most precious thing you possess. By doing so, you become a beacon, and they, or anyone else on your journey, will not remember you for the things you did to please them. They will remember you for the way your presence reminded them of the truth of their own soul. They won't be able to get you out of their head, not because you held them back, but because, by their side, they felt freer to be themselves. And that feeling is the home to which every soul longs to return. So take a deep breath. Look within. The journey doesn't begin with him. It begins with you. Reflect on these 6 points, but as a mirror to your own psyche. Where is your sacred silence? What is your hidden wound? What is your deepest search for meaning? Where is your forgotten child? How do you nurture your sensitive soul? And how are you moving toward the queen you can be? Share your thoughts in the comments. And perhaps as you asked yourself these questions, you felt a profound silence. Perhaps the vastness of this inner landscape seemed a little intimidating. Where do I begin? You might ask. How do I truly begin to converse with my own soul, to honor my own silence, to heal my own wounds? This is the most important question of all, because this is where theory becomes life, where knowledge becomes wisdom. The answer, like everything profound, is at once simple and infinitely complex. You begin by becoming an archaeologist of your own soul, with kindness, curiosity, and the right tools. You don't need a complete map. You need a flashlight, a soft brush, and the patience to honor what you find. The first tool, perhaps the most powerful, is a journal, but not a journal to record what you did during the day. Think of it as a sacred space for dialogue with your unconscious, a place where you can ask the difficult questions and allow the answers to emerge in the form of words, images, and feelings. When you find yourself obsessing over his mission, stop and write, "What is my mission? What makes my heart sing, independent of anyone else?" When his wounded child activates your need to save, write to your own inner savior, "Darling, what are you trying to prove? What pain are you running away from by focusing on his pain?" Use the journal to give voice to your queen, to hear your little girl's fears, to decipher the whispers of your sensitive soul. This journal becomes your mirror, the record of your journey of individuation. Another powerful tool is your own body. The psyche doesn't just live in your head, it lives in every cell of your being. The body doesn't lie. It holds the memories, the tensions, the joys and the sorrows that the mind often tries to rationalize or ignore. Start practicing the art of listening to your body. When you're with him, where do you feel the connection? Is it a warmth in your chest? A sense of relaxation in your shoulders? And when the shadow of the relationship appears, the fear of abandonment when he retreats into silence, the frustration when he seems immature, where does this manifest in your body? A knot in your stomach? A tight throat? Don't judge these sensations. Just breathe them. Your body is giving you precious information about what is true for you, moment by moment. Honoring your body is honoring the most visceral truth of your psyche. And finally, embrace the language that goes beyond words. The unconscious speaks in symbols, in images, in dreams. Give it an outlet. If you can't write about a feeling, paint it, dance it, find a song that conveys it, mold it in clay, sing it in the shower. The act of creating something from your inner world is one of the most healing and integrative processes there is. You don't need to be an artist. You just need to be brave enough to allow your inner landscape to become visible, tangible. By doing so, you are building a bridge between your conscious self and the vast, wise depths of your being. Understand that none of these practices are about fixing yourself to be more attractive to him. That's the old mindset we're leaving behind. Each of these practices is an act of radical self-love. It's a commitment to your own wholeness. It's you saying to the universe and to yourself, "I am worthy of being known. My soul matters. My journey is sacred." And the most beautiful paradox is that the deeper you delve into this journey of self, the more magnetic you become. Not in a superficial way, but in a fundamental way. Your presence begins to carry the weight of self-awareness, the lightness of self-acceptance, and the resonance of authenticity. You stop relating from a place of neediness, of needing validation, and begin relating from a place of wholeness. You become the sanctuary you once sought in them. You become the adventure you once hoped they would provide. You become the queen of your own kingdom, and it is from this place of sovereignty that true love, the love between two whole beings, can finally blossom. And here, on this journey of inner archaeology, we encounter the great acid test. It's the moment when theory meets reality, when your newfound awareness is tested in the messy and unpredictable laboratory of a human relationship. Because I know what you might be thinking. This is beautiful, but it's a lot of work. What if I do all this, and he doesn't notice? What if I become this archaeologist of my own soul, honor my body, dance with my feelings, and he leaves anyway? This is the question that separates the seduction manual from the soul's journey. The seduction manual promises a result, the man. The soul's journey promises a process, yourself. The old mindset, that of conquest, measures success by its permanence. The new mindset, that of individuation, measures success by your permanence within yourself. And this is the most radical and liberating change you can make. Think of yourself as a gardener. Your garden is your psyche. The practices we've discussed, journaling, listening to your body, symbolic expression, are the tools you use to cultivate this garden. You till the soil, weed the self-criticism, fertilize with self-compassion, and water with awareness. Your job is to make this garden the most fertile, vibrant, and authentic place it can be. A place where your native flowers can thrive unapologetically. A man who enters your life is like a seed. Maybe he's an oak seed, destined to become a strong and protective tree. Maybe he's a seed of a rare flower that blooms under the moon. Or maybe he's a seed simply not made for your soil. Your job isn't to force the seed to germinate. Your job isn't to try to turn a dandelion seed into a rose bush. Your job is to nourish the soil. It's to continue to be the guardian of your garden. When you do this, the kiss on the 6 points ceases to be a strategy. It becomes an inevitable consequence of who you've become. You no longer need to try to give him space for your not sacred silence. because you are so filled with the richness of your own garden that his absence is no longer a void to be feared, but simply time for you to tend to your own plants. You no longer need to force compassion for his hidden wound, because by tending to your own wounds, compassion has become the air you breathe. You celebrate his search for meaning, because you're too busy living yours. You delight in his forgotten boy because your own inner girl is constantly inviting you to play. You become a safe haven for his sensitive soul, not because you read it in a script, but because you've learned to navigate the tides of your own emotional ocean. And you believe in the king he can be, because you're too busy building your own throne, your own kingdom. And here's the secret. A healthy, vibrant garden is inherently attractive. It has a scent, an energy, a life force that draws attention. Some seeds, finding such rich soil, will sink roots so deep that nothing can uproot them. They will grow alongside you, and together, you will create a forest. Other seeds may sprout for a while and then realize they need a different climate, and that's okay too. Their departure doesn't diminish the beauty and vitality of your garden in the slightest. It simply makes room for something else to grow. The pain of loss may be real, but it's no longer accompanied by the devastation of losing yourself. You don't fall apart because your worth was never invested in their reaction, but rather in your commitment to your own truth. True freedom isn't having the power to make someone stay. It's having the peace of knowing that you will be whole, no matter who they are or whoever comes. So, the spell is complete. But as we discovered, magic was never a technique to be applied to someone else. The true alchemy, the great transformation, was always about you. The journey that began with the promise of becoming unforgettable for him ends with the revelation of how to become unforgettable for yourself. And so we return to that opening line. Kiss a man in these 6 desire points, and he won't be able to get you out of his head. Now we understand its deepest truth. The kiss is not an action. It is an emanation. It is the resonance of your own wholeness touching his. You no longer need to search for these 6 points in him, because you have found them and are cultivating them in yourself. The sacred silence, the healed wound, the search for meaning, the nurtured child, the honored soul, and the rising queen. These are the 6 desire points of your own being. When you live from this place, your presence becomes a silent invitation. He won't be able to get you out of his head, not because you've bewitched him with a tactic, but because in your presence, he's felt the call of his own soul. You become a mirror, not of what he is, but of what he can become. You become a compass for his soul, pointing not to you, but to his true north. And this is a form of love so rare and so powerful that it leaves an indelible mark, not of possession, but of liberation. Ultimately, the great lesson of Jungian psychology and the soul's journey is this. The most important relationship you will ever have is with yourself. All others are merely a reflection of it. By committing to your own garden, to your own individuation, you don't become the woman he can't forget. You become the woman you can no longer ignore. You become the protagonist of your own story, the heroine of your own quest. And from this place of fulfillment, love ceases to be a hunt and becomes a dance between 2 gardens, 2 kingdoms, 2 whole souls that choose to walk together, not out of necessity, but out of resonance. Thank you for walking this path with me. This isn't a conversation that ends here. It's an invitation to begin. Which of these 6 points resonates most with your journey right now? Share your reflection in the comments below. Let's transform this space into a community of gardeners of the soul. If this journey touched you in any way, please like this video so it can reach others who need to hear it. Subscribe to the channel so we can continue exploring the depths of the psyche together. And share it with someone you think might benefit from this message. Until next time, take good care of your garden.